يثبت الله الذين آمنوا بالقول الثابت في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة.
Rukia Kuchiki is asking, there are men who use some kind of hadith which states that angels curse a woman who doesn't want to sleep with her husband. Is this a true hadith and is it authentic, and what's the meaning behind it?
I wouldn't take this as an authentic hadith. I wouldn't take this as something that the Prophet, peace be upon him, actually said. It may have originated from some person who thought that this is a way of, correcting a wife. If a woman is refusing to go to bed with her husband, then this is a good way of getting her back on track. But I wouldn't take this as a saying of our Prophet, peace be upon him.
Shut up! He's trying to defend marital rape. He's trying to say that the Prophet said that a woman has no right to refuse sex to a husband. This kind of blasphemy is not attributed to our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You ask these people, do you have a problem with rape going on? The marital rape. They don't seem to have a problem with that. I showed that these people are trying to justify marital rape. They're trying to say that the Prophet condoned to rape your wife using religious blackmail.
Okay, let's go on to another topic within the broader topic of marriage, and that is marital intimacy. I have a hadith here that says, if a husband calls his wife to his bed, i.e. for sexual relations, and she refuses and causes him to sleep in anger, the angels will curse her till morning. Now, a lot of people see Islam as kind of making marital rape permissible. It's almost like there's no such thing as marital rape. A husband can have intimate relations with his wife whenever he wants, and the wife has no choice but to obey. Do you see why some people might find that misogynistic?
No. Not
Okay.
really. I actually see that hadith is an evidence why marital rape could never be allowed, because she is under threat of punishment from Allah for not complying with her husband's advances, or not responding to her husband's advances. But the Prophet ﷺ didn't say to the men that if the wife says no, then force her. So to be honest, and the second thing is Allah Azza wa Jalla said, وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, that men have that she has what men have over her, and that as men have rights over their wife, women have rights over their husbands.
So why wasn't it mentioned like that in the
Shaykh
hadith?
al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala was one of the people who mentioned that this is from the rights of the wife as well as the husband, but it is more emphasizing the right of the husband because of the nature of men and because of the danger to him in terms of his religion and practicing his religion properly, that men are typically, generally speaking, in this regard, more impulsive, more likely that if they don't satisfy their desire in a way that's permissible, that they might start to think about doing so in a way that's impermissible, which brings harm upon that woman, by the way. And ultimately, I also think that before all of this, go back and say, there's on that topic also, there are ahadith about the man taking care of his wife in terms of intimacy and not rushing her and so on and so forth. That's a right of the wife as well, but obviously we're not talking about that because feminism doesn't look at the rights that women have in
It's
Islam.
a one-side discussion.
But if we go back in the beginning, first of all, this whole idea of individual consent in each individual instance is not a part of Islam in reality.
Okay.
In Islam, marriage provides a general consent to intimacy. When you marry someone, there is an understanding that the couple will be intimate with one another. That's the right of the wife, it's the right of the husband. The wife can go to the qadi and say, my husband is not taking care of my rights in terms of intimacy. And the qadi can say to the husband, he can bring him and he can say to him, this is something you must do. Otherwise, the marriage could be broken apart. There could be penalties upon you. And more than that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will become angry with you because you're not fulfilling her rights. But the nature of men is that you have to emphasize this, that if a man comes to his wife and he has a particular need in that sense, in reality, that man is very easy for him to fall into haram. So the woman is told, look, take care of your husband in this regard. Because ultimately, for example, the Prophet said that if a man sees a woman that he's impressed with or amazed with, then he has to go back to his wife. For she has what the other one has. In other words, men are like that. Yani this is a flaw within men. Yani if he is satisfied one way or the other, and that's enough for him. So ultimately, he goes back to his wife, and she knows that when he requests that from her, she has to answer that request and comply to it. And that's from the general understanding of marriage. He doesn't have the right to force her. And we know that from the same hadith that you quoted, because the angels are angry with her, or the angels curse her until the morning, which means that he has no right to force her. And in that case, this is part of the general understanding of marriage. Because generally, these criticisms come from people who in the first place don't understand the institution of marriage. Marriage is a general consent. When the woman gives her consent, and she does give her consent, because we said there's no forced marriage in Islam. She consents to marriage. She consents that I am going to be available for intimacy for my husband whenever Allah has made it permissible, as not when Allah Azza wa Jalla has made it haram. And the husband agrees, وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. The husband agrees that she has the same right from me, but the right is more strongly emphasized because of the danger to the man and what that will bring back upon the woman as well. Because it will bring back upon her. She's not going to be happy if her husband has got a wandering eye looking at every woman that goes past. So she needs to take care of her husband, but her husband also needs to take care of his wife, as there are many, as I said, ahadith in that regard in terms of the man taking care of his wife. And Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned in this that this is from the strongest of the rights of the wife that she has over her husband. Because one of the major purposes in Islamic legislation is to preserve honor and preserve reputation. In other words, preserve chastity and so on and so forth. So ultimately, that's important for the wife. It's important for the husband. But typically, men in that regard have a very limited amount of sabr in that regard, a limited amount of patience, as opposed to women who typically don't have that kind of same impulsive sort of behavior in that way.